the universe is alive, it is structured and behaves like a living thing, and that the solar system is an integral part of it, and humanity is one organism, and it should behave like one organism, unified, without separation, without this popular divide and conquer principle, with the principle of cooperation. And after that, humanity will be able of going and exploring outer space.
This is Making Contact, a forum where we talk about different topics related to space and contact, potential diplomatic contact with extraterrestrial civilizations. And today in this installment, we did something special. We asked our friends at the Ecology of the Unknown to prepare some opinions. This is a group of scientists, cosmologists and engineers that are mostly in Moscow, but also not Moscow, in Russia, but also elsewhere in Eastern Europe, that have been thinking about this very deeply, this topic of the race to space and unification in the universe and our place in the universe since the 90s, I think. I'll let our guest tell us more about it. And I'm happy to report that we've had some amazing scientists talk to us about it in this video composition. But before we get to some of that, I'd like to introduce you with a good friend of mine and a friend of the Alliance, Timofey Egorov. He's the general director of the Ecology of the Unknown, and also he's a trainer of cosmonauts at the Gagarin Cosmonauts Training Center. I understand near Moscow, where the center is physically located. Welcome to the forum, Timofey.
Hello, Sylvan. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me.
So, Timofey, I think it's of particular note, especially now we're in June, and there is a conflict in Eastern Europe at this time. A lot of people in the Western world, at least people around us, we want to see everybody being fine with each other, like unification. So it's I think it amazing that technology allows us to have conversations beyond politics, right? Beyond everything that's happening, to think about our future and where we're heading, and to talk about our mindset and where we're going, and what should we do with each other, and how should we collaborate with each other, and that I think that's something that we're going to be talking about today. But before we get into that, and also some of the other topics that we want to talk about regarding humanity's direction, can you tell me more, tell us more about the Ecology of the Unknown and its work?
Sure. The Association Ecology of the Unknown was founded in about 1990, so it has come a long way. It includes people from different walks of life, PhDs, PhD candidates, military men, retired, professors, just independent researchers. All these people are researching what we call the unknown. Sometimes we call it anomalous phenomena, of course, including UFOs. And of course, we are looking at all these things from the perspective of humanity's evolution, because this knowledge that we are not alone in the universe makes us think about who we are. How do we go into outer space? With what mindset? What laws are there in the universe? Which I guess there are laws which everyone in the galaxy obey, just like a regular society here on Earth. We have laws, we have ethics. So laws are written black and white on the paper, and ethics is usually not written, but also we follow it sometimes in the first place. And from this angle, we look at all the researches we do, and we have accumulated many facts, a lot of data on UFOs, on the question, are we alone in the universe, on different anomalous phenomena. And when we put it all together, we have some insights which we have written down in several documents, which you can find on our website, on our websites, and you can look into it. I think it will be very interesting. And besides that, our own researchers, we have included the teachings of Russian cosmists. These are space scientists of the past. They were almost 1 century ago. And the names you may be familiar with: Tsiolkovsky, Vernadsky, Chizhevsky, and many others. And a century ago, they were already telling that the universe is alive, it is structured and behaves like a living thing, and that the solar system is an integral part of it, and humanity is one organism, and it should behave like one organism, unified, without separation, without this popular divide and conquer principle, with the principle of cooperation. And after that, humanity will be able of going and exploring outer space. So this knowledge we have adopted in our researches, and that's what the Association Ecology of the Unknown does.
Excellent. So I guess the first question that comes to mind is how do we factually know that we are not alone?
The answer is very simple. There are, not to say thousands, but tens of thousands of cases of UFO sightings seen with witnesses, with the naked eye, recorded on radars, recorded on cameras of jets, and many other things, which some call evidence of something that is present in the atmosphere of the Earth, that is not of this world, as some would say. Some say that, oh, we don't know anything, we have to study, we have to research, and we need money for this. But really, there are many cases and many witnesses, and I think this is obvious that we are not alone in the universe. Besides that, besides these facts and evidence, you can use your common sense. Well, look, we are here on the Earth. Somehow we appeared on this planet. We are living things. We are a humanoid race, and the universe is so magnificent. It is so large. Usually we don't think about it, but it is so big that the possibility of emerging life there, just like we emerged on this planet, is very, very high. It's almost, I don't know, maybe it's 100% because we are here.
Yeah.
So, but the distances between the stars and star systems and the planets and are enormous. And we just cannot see or receive a signal or send a signal. It will take thousands of years and sometimes millions of years to reach those stars, reach those planets and receive a signal back. So to have this evidence, like send me a photo from a different star, it will not work. And that's why we can conclude that we are on a level of evolution that just does not allow us to interact with those civilizations. We have to invent something new. We have to look at our evolution from a different perspective.
Yeah, we're limited basically to the speed of light, which is the problem in those scales. Like you said,
yes,
you can't communicate. The maximum speed is speed of light, and it's thousands of years to reach anything. So we don't have the scientific knowledge and know-how to actually interact with very distant civilizations yet, unless they visit us, which is part of the point. They probably are visiting us because they have the means to come here.
Of course, it may just be something like we are just at a low level of our development, but maybe we think we are big. But really, we just everyone knows that a human eye can see just a little fragment of the electromagnetic spectrum.
Yeah.
And when we can hear just also a little segment of these frequencies. Yeah. Maybe, but the capacities of our body are not studied, are just beginning to be explored, because think of this: human brain is working throughout the life of a person only maximum by 5%, and human genes are not studied to I don't know, maybe to 10%, and they even call the rest of the genes trash genes. Because we just don't know what they mean. And I think this is the evidence of our capacities, and we are just at the beginning of our way of our evolution. And there is something that is holding us back from evolving, because as you can see, and many scientists talk about, that humanity is reaching reaching the verge of self-destruction, of extinction. And it may be the case. We have to do something to
avoid that, preferably. Yeah.
Космическое право на сегодня характеризуется рядом актуальных вопросов, которые подлежат регулированию. В части практических вопросов следует понимать, что любая космическая деятельность, будь то коммерческая или государственная, должна соответствовать положениям договора по космосу, то есть основным принципам, которые устанавливаются этим договором. В том случае, если такая деятельность проводится в нарушении соответствующих принципов, государства несут международную политическую ответственность. В этом как раз специфика международного космического права. А другая специфика состоит в том, что государства также несут международную материальную ответственность за ущерб, который причинен космическими объектами. И в этой связи в этом контексте не важно, такой ущерб причинен объектам, находящимся в собственности какого-либо юридического или физического лица, или же государства. То есть государства несут ответственность за всю национальную космическую деятельность, а также за ущерб, причиненный космическими объектами. И ответственность государства является в данном случае определенной мерой гарантии того, что такая деятельность будет безопасной и будет осуществляться в рамках норм, которые предусмотрены для любой космической деятельности. При получении лицензии на космическую деятельность, ну, например, в Соединенных Штатах у нас тоже есть такое требование, предусматривается обязательное страхование ответственности перед третьими лицами. На тот случай, если будет причинен ущерб, чтобы была возможность компенсации соответствующих расходов государства, понесенных им в связи с компенсацией материального ущерба на международном правовом уровне. В целом, космос является международной территорией за пределами национальной юрисдикции, и кроме как на космическом объекте там не действует право, какое-либо национальное право государства. Там действует только международное право. Первые международные документы появились фактически после запуска первого искусственного спутника Земли 4 октября 1957 года. Тогда же, немного позже, был учрежден в 1959 году Комитет ООН по использованию космического пространства в мирных целях. В первых же резолюциях Генеральной Ассамблеи ООН были подчеркнуты ряд принципов, которые в дальнейшем легли в основу Декларации правовых принципов по исследованию и использованию космического пространства 1963 года, которая не хотелось бы дублировать ее положение, поскольку она легла в основу будущего юридически обязательного договора о принципах деятельности государств по исследованию и использованию космического пространства, включая Луну и другие небесные тела, вступившего в силу в 1967 году, 10 октября. Прежде чем приступить к перечислению основных принципов, закрепленных этим договором, я бы также хотела подчеркнуть, что в период Холодной войны, конечно же, международное космическое право посредством дипломатических усилий талантливейших ученых с обеих сторон нашего мира получило большое развитие и имеет опережающий характер, сохраняет свое значение и сегодня. Первый принцип, который закреплен договором по космосу. Исследование и использование космоса осуществляется на благо и в интересах всех стран и является достоянием всего человечества. Именно исследование и использование является достоянием всего человечества. Космическое пространство и небесные тела открыты для исследования и использования всеми государствами. И в этой связи часто возникает разночтение, говорят о том, что якобы космос свободен для использования, но это не так. Мы не можем говорить о свободе использования космоса. Любая такая деятельность ограничена по целям, например, мирных целях. К сожалению, проекты по неразмещению никакого оружия в космическом пространстве Российской Федерации, представляемые на конференции по разоружению, не находят должной поддержки среди США и оппонентов. Меня немножко смущают некоторые последние заявления, в том числе вице-президента США, о том, что они накладывают мораторий на испытания противоспутникового оружия. Хотя договор по космосу такие испытания не запрещает, а иные международные договоренности были расторгнуты Россией и США по инициативе США. Сейчас же они говорят о том, что мы против испытаний.
I have a little bit tidbit that I've been circulating about this, like the abundance of intelligent life, like prospectively in the universe, and I should say the known universe, because we must limit to what we can see. Again, the speed of light being a limiting factor. If we exist here, which we do, and we can anticipate or project that we would be able to create life ourselves by understanding DNA properly, by doing that, and the known universe being so vast, it doesn't require evolution for civilizations to actually exist in the universe, intelligent life, I mean, because it only requires one that's able to reach the scientific know-how to be able to create life in the known galaxy, and then they can spawn life anywhere themselves without the evolution being involved. So in that respect, we can infer that it's very likely that because of the probabilities of evolution of abiosis, right? That most intelligent life in the known universe is probably intentionally created through science, and it must be significantly more abundant than we think, because we don't entirely depend only on evolution as a means to develop intelligence. But that's an interesting thought in itself. But I don't want to have a discussion about that. It's just I wanted to put it out there to kind of show that there's probably a lot of stuff out there that we are just not in contact with. And like you said, especially if there's a creationist type of synergy, there must be rules and understanding in the universe and ethics, as you say. So tell me about the ethics. I know you guys have written a lot about it, and I know others in this video will talk to a certain extent about this. But what parts of the ethics are really important, the ethics of the cosmos, and how in contradiction are we at this moment in time on Earth? What do you think?
That's a great question. We have thought about it a lot. And what we have come to is that we can say that humanity is now diseased with a virus, which is called ego. And it is in you, it is in me, it is everywhere in humanity. And if a person is very much into this ego, he may become an egoist. And egoists, they form this society of consumer society. And the consumer lives at the expense of others. So to gain energy, to gain vital energy, to live on, the consumer has to get energy from others, from the outside world, to suck it in, to eat it everywhere. So what we believe, this ego in humans is a virus that that takes control over human brain, over human behavior, and it makes you live a consumer life. So that's why it is normal to us to suck out oil from the earth, to chop trees, to pour our waste in the rivers. So we don't think about what will happen after that. We just think of that we need to consume, we need more energy, and we're coming to an energy crisis. We're coming to this natural disasters initiated by humans. So that's part one. That's what ego in us makes us do. And we think that's a disease, and we have to heal from it, because human in his essence is a creative creature, because we have this ability to radiate energy, and that what makes you human. When you not consume, when you radiate energy, when you produce, generate energy, and that comes from your heart, and that is what is manifested in love, in joy, tenderness, respect, reliability, anything, what have you. These all positive human qualities are what makes us really human. And if we train these qualities in us, and if we can transform this ego thing, to neutralize it, to transform it, to stop it from doing these things, then we can start on the path of evolution. We can know ourselves better. We can come to a point when we can cooperate, because really we are one single organism. And here's the point. Yes, humanity is on the verge of self-destruction, it may reach it, but with a little one exception. That will be the extinction of egoists. Does it make sense? If we don't change, it will be the extinction of egoists. And what will drive this extinction? Maybe you know, maybe some of you know that in 2012, the solar system has reached the lower point of its orbit, and now it's going on the ascending part of its orbit, because the solar system revolves around the center of our galaxy.
Center of the galaxy. Okay.
Yes. And when it goes ascends its orbit, it already 12 years in, it's gradually comes closer to the center of the galaxy, and the center of the galaxy radiates a lot of energy, because there are theories that there are black holes in the center of each galaxy, which produces energy for the whole galaxy, the black holes. And this energy has a capability of annihilating ego, this virus. And as we come closer, as we ascend, this radiation from the center of the galaxy becomes stronger and affects you more. And it annihilates the ego in you. But over years, over thousands of years living in this egoism, its ego was so much entrenched in us that it is on the cellular level, on the genes level. So
it's inside us.
Yes. When it will be annihilated, it will affect your physical body. That's the point. That's why to live on, to not extinct, we have to first transform this ego, neutralize it, and then we can free our physical body. And as these energies that come from the center of a galaxy reach the Earth, we will not extinct. So we have to transform this ego, and then we have to learn how to assimilate those energies. As you know, when maybe you do not know, when man goes to space, he is exposed to different types of radiation.
Yeah,
and there are some unknown types of radiation which cannot be screened. You cannot hide from them anyhow. There is no way you can hide away from those radiation. And that's a big problem when going to Mars, going to Saturn, wherever you want, these types of radiation. And here's the point. On Earth, we have the magnetic field that protects us from. Earth has a magnetic field, very powerful. It protects us from this radiation. But when you go out into outer space, you're instantly exposed to these types of radiation. We can build a screen or a very strong magnet, take it with us, or we can learn how to assimilate those energies with our physical body, so we don't receive the amount of radiation that can lead
a little
to
bit like
death.
Suppose somebody that lives in northern area on Earth goes near the equator. They're exposed to a lot more radiation. Of course, it's not a different radiation. It's still the sun. It's not a different thing. Your body gets accustomed to it over time, for like a higher exposure of solar radiation in this case, and UVs and whatever. If we go to space, you're suggesting that, and I know there's been experiments about this at the ISS and other experiments on people like staying in space for a long period of time to see like how they react over a long exposure to space, which means all these radiation sources that don't get to the ground, right? So we should have a fairly good idea already about whether or not the body is able to adapt, I suspect, from these experiments and the ISS and otherwise.
Really, when you go to space, you cannot hide from this radiation.
Yeah.
And there, when you come home, when you land on the ground, you are tested with how much radiation you got.
Yeah.
And if there's accumulates a certain amount of this radiation, you will not be allowed to go to space. While going into space, a person receives a dose of radiation which is 400 times greater than a person gets throughout over a year on staying on Earth.
Wow. Okay.
So this is a great amount of radiation. But as I said earlier, there is a way to screen it away, to protect yourself if you can somehow build a magnetic field around the station, around your ship, or what have you. But the intensity of this magnetic field should be so great that you would need to have a very large magnet.
Yeah,
very large magnet.
Yeah.
And to take something into outer space, which is heavy, it will demand the capacities that we don't have.
Yeah.
Or to carry this big magnet there, you also need some fuel, so you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's expensive. Yeah, it's
or there's a different way. You can build a screen, and again, if you want to protect yourself, for example, from a solar jet, which happens if you go, for example, if you go to Mars, it will definitely happen twice throughout your trip. The screen will need to be very thick and again very heavy. And how do we bring it out? So the conclusion is this: we need to invent something new. Not rockets, not boosters, not fossil fuel, again, that you take out from Earth. So being a consumer, you have to take it, process it, make it a fuel, burn it, and has its waste in the atmosphere. And again, this is a vicious circle. But we have some new type of energy, new things to invent, and how to invent it. To change our mindset first, I guess. Think not in a consumer way, think in a different way.
Что нам делать в космосе? Возникает вопрос. Ну, самая простая идея заключается в идее Циолковского, который еще в прошлом веке сказал, что Земля – это колыбель для человечества, и что первый шаг – это освоение астероидного пояса. Внутри астероидного пояса надо осваивать космическое пространство. Потом эту идею подхватил Дайсон, и он придумал такую сферу Дайсона. Эта сфера Дайсона во всех источниках, в интернете, везде, она нарисована, описана, там это расхожее место. Вот она тут на слайде. Это некоторая такая техносфера, такой полый шар, внутри которого находятся планеты Земля, Марс, Венера, там, Меркурий. Осваивать это пространство будут роботы. Но ничего страшного. Дело в том, что роботы будут осваивать это пространство космическое, но управлять роботами в конечном счете будем мы с Земли. Это нормально. Центр управления будет находиться на Земле, и аватарно мы будем управлять этими роботами. Для чего? Ну, как минимум для того, чтобы получать дармовую, бесконечную, экологически чистую энергию. Солнечную энергию. Потому что солнечная энергия, она абсолютно безвредная, никаких выбросов, ничего нет. Как минимум. На самом деле там есть другие задачи, но мы сейчас их рассматривать не будем. Мы еще не знаем свойств космоса, на самом деле, по-настоящему. Мы только подходим к этому. Ну вот «Экология непознанного», она там много в свое время докладов предоставила, в которых показывали чудеса, которые называются на поверхности Земли, в высших слоях атмосферы Земли, в фотосфере Солнца, в короне Солнца. Там столько непонятного, что нам сейчас заранее предсказывать, что мы там будем делать, просто бесполезно. Ясно, что там чудес полна коробочка. И мы эту коробочку должны открыть и эти чудеса использовать для своего блага. Нам все это предстоит сделать. Ну, естественно, управлять этими еще роботами будем мы аватарно. Почему? Потому что роботы все будут работать по программам. Но если они столкнутся с какой-то проблемой, то, естественно, конечно, эту проблему они эвристически решить не смогут. Они будут обращаться к операторам на Землю. Оператор на Земле будет проблему эту решать эвристично, то есть творчески. Чего нет у роботов, это творческого начала. Они работают только по алгоритму. Планета – это некоторое яйцо, внутри которого развивается зародыш будущей космической цивилизации. Мы с вами находимся в стадии эмбриогенеза. Мы находимся еще не родившейся космической цивилизации. В состоянии дикого совершенно, необузданного эмбрионального роста. Для того, чтобы нам родиться, нам сначала надо доразвиться до зрелого плода, потому что цыпленок, который не развился, он не выклюнется. То есть нам надо сделать свое тельце крепким, опериться, так сказать, и потом головкой проклюнуться и вылезти из этого яйца. Так ведь? А то, что мы видим на планете, это разве созревший цыпленок человечества? Это какие-то фрагменты, части тела, которые еще предстоит собрать вместе. И пока они не будут собраны, пока они гармонично не соединятся, никакого рождения не будет. И никакого посещения иных цивилизаций к нам не будет. Почему? Потому что курица же не влазит внутрь яйца и не смотрит, как там развивается цыпленок. Никто из животных не влазит внутрь и не смотрит, как развивается эмбрион. Просто запрещено природой. И эти инопланетные цивилизации, они могут нас сканировать, они могут нас как-то там УЗИ делать, смотреть немножко, но на самом деле всерьез они не вмешиваются в наш процесс. Они помогают иногда нам чуть-чуть, но на самом деле все по программе идет по определенной и с нашей помощью. Я здесь, конечно, очень большую такую натяжку делаю, сравнивая человечество с цыпленком. А с чем еще сравнить? У нас нет других сравнений, только с этим. И вот тогда, когда мы гармонично разовьемся, с моей точки зрения, на это уйдет, не расстраивайтесь, минимум 1000 лет. Не вижу я более быстрого варианта развития всего человечества до гармоничного состояния. Вот тогда мы родимся, и тогда мы вылетим и увидим другие цивилизации, увидим наших родителей космических, внепланетных цивилизаций. Они нас примут, так сказать, и начнут нас учить. И мы будем делать первые шаги как космическая цивилизация. В лучшем случае через 1000 лет. А наша задача пока не передраться, не поубивать друг друга здесь до этого момента. Доразвиться и родиться. Чего всем и желаю. Спасибо за внимание.
Well, I think that brings us to the most important part of the discussion. Like the way you were describing humanity with ego and consumerism, it made me reminded me of us being fungus or bacteria, right? Just consuming and multiplying, and just until basically the colony, because you see this on petri dishes, that the colony runs out of food and it's cannibalizes itself because it just keeps consuming, and it tries, and eventually it kind of gets to a point, and this is only for bacteria. I'm not suggesting we do this at all, but the food they eat is the dead bodies of the previous bacteria that die, right? And then it kind of maintains a population that is that's no longer growing. It's just kind of just stagnated in that state, that unhealthy state. So that's the ego current humanity that you seem to be describing, consuming, growing, more population, more consumption, and stripping the planet, and and all that. And you're suggesting going from that mentality of being a bacteria to something different, to something that is balanced and harmonious with the environment at every level, planetary, solar system, galactic, and even probably beyond. So I guess there's 2 questions. I'm going to do it one by one because they're loaded, both of them. First question would be, what does that humanity look like? You know what I mean? Like, without ego, how can we go from this to consumerism to a collaborative, healthy humanity that it has that kind of harmony? Do you guys have any idea what that actually looks like?
Yes, sure.
Okay.
Okay, first of all, how it should look like, I guess we all really, in our hearts and minds, know it, because everyone strives for a happy life, to live in joy, to live in peace, collaboration. Everybody understands that. Nobody wants wars. Nobody wants them be killed or anything. But something is going wrong. We all want this. We all are striving for this. But what holds us back from having this? Well, we suggest that this reason, this this cause, is the ego in us. Then the question arises how to get rid of it, how to drop it. And here we are understanding that you cannot get rid of it because it is in your physical body. It passes on through genes to your children. We age. Maybe aging is not something that human should have, because really our bodies can regenerate, cells can duplicate, we can recover, but something is holding us back from this. So something that in our bodies, in our cells, in the structure, in what we are made of. So that's why thinking of this, how to change it, our Russian team, not only us, but all the people we collaborate with and work with, we have come up with a system that we call psychoenergetics. And this system suggests you some techniques and methods how to transform this ego in you. Well, what is ego? It's just, we call it a virus, which is manifested in some negative, they say negative qualities of the human: aggression, hatred, envy, jealousy. So you name it. You know these qualities, and you can tell this is a good quality, a positive one, and this is a negative one, something that consumes the energy of your physical body, that something that ages you, fear, and qualities like love, like joy, they give you energy, they give you strength. And they say that even laughter and good emotions can heal humans from diseases that are thought to be uncurable. So what I was telling about is this system of psychoenergetics. It's a certain type of work that everyone can do that will help you to transform these ego qualities, transform ego, and train the good qualities of you. So this process go simultaneously. And we suggest and we offer everyone willing these techniques and methods to try them, to see how it works. Because here in Russia, there were thousands of people involved in this work, and we see the results. We see that a person who's 50 years old looks like he's 35, or she's 35. We see that diseases that were there in the human, when he starts on this psychoenergetics, he starts to train himself, they go away. Well, for example, my wife, she had a disease. I don't know how to call it in English. Asthma.
Okay. Yeah. Breathing.
Yes, it involves breathing.
Yeah.
So
asthma.
Yes, yeah, asthma. She had it, and they couldn't heal it. As she began to train herself, it just went away. And traditional medicine, traditional pharmacy, traditional scientific paradigm, common wisdom, they say they cannot explain this because they are in the mindset of sell and buy. A pharmacy is there to sell their drugs, to sell their medicine. Well, of course, drugs and medicine often really help.
Sure.
But it is a system, we call it ecosystem, which is like a vicious circle. You are having a disease, you go take a drug, and this drug has a side effect. You have to take a different drug to compensate for the side effect, and then you continue on with your consumer lifestyle. You do not do physical exercise. You continue to, well, living in an environment that is not healthy, and it's not healthy because there is a pollution of air, which you need to have because you need to have gasoline for your car. And so it seems like many things to do to change the situation, but really it's just in your mind, and it will become easier as you go. And as I said before, there are great results, just like with an example which I gave with my wife, and many things like this. And so what I'm trying to say is that we have this knowledge and we have these results, and we offer everyone willing. We can share it for free, and just let's go. Let's do this.
Oh, let's do it. I do have another question for you, Timofey. We were talking about other civilizations a bit earlier that are out there. And since they are capable of traveling here visibly, you're talking about the evidence and so on, and they obviously intentionally, do what they do in the skies and everywhere with full intent of do exactly that. I mean, I'm pretty sure, and this is speculation, I suspect, I guess, that it's not like they're skirting a fifth dimension and just like touching us just to without even being aware of us, that kind of thing, which is possible, I suppose. It seems very intentional by what we observe, that they are playing with us in some way, right? Or being present intentionally. But the point is, they are able to cross the stars in a reasonable time. And they've been in our skies for thousands of years, arguably, given the evidence. So they are far more advanced technologically than us. Can we infer, like the short question, I guess, can we infer that those civilizations maybe no longer have, if they ever had, this ego problem? Is that a proper inference?
Yeah, that's another great question. And it's so good that you have this curiosity. Well, I think it can be both. Maybe because those people, let's call them people, that come to us and are in our skies, and sometimes they help to compensate for some things that shouldn't have happened, and maybe thanks to them they didn't happen.
Some nuclear incidents come to mind.
Yes, nuclear incidents, for example. And these civilizations either didn't have those problems, issues with ego, or maybe they solved them. We don't know their age. Maybe they're millions of years ahead of us, maybe 1,000 years ahead. We don't know. We just see that they're friendly. They are trying to give some hints and warnings. maybe sometimes they save our life, maybe save our planet. We don't know. We just see that if they were hostile, for example, they would have long conquered us. But why would they need that?
No.
I guess they're just treat us like their younger brothers in consciousness, a civilization that is just in the beginning of its evolution, and maybe they can understand the issues that we have with our ego thing. And of course, I believe they just try to help us, and maybe sometimes they try to communicate. But do we respond? Sometimes we respond. Maybe we want to have them land on the lawns of the White House, as they usually say it, and come out with bread and salt. That's a thing that we humans wait, but is it really possible? And why would they do so? And I guess they wouldn't, because they, for ethical reasons, they cannot interfere directly, because they respect us and they want to see that we make this decision to change ourselves.
Like they did, presumably, perhaps in the
Yes,
past.
like they did. They have this wisdom, because if you didn't decide yourself, then you will not be able to learn something. To learn something, you have to realize, to change your behavior and see better results. That's what we have to do. And maybe they did so maybe thousands or millions of years back, and they learned their lesson, and their consciousness was open to some new knowledge about how the universe works, how these all frequencies work, and they managed to make this, as we call them, flying saucers, or their ships, to maybe to reach different star systems in an instant. And what makes them do so? I guess they have a certain level of ethics, because I think they care a lot about what is around them, and they will not harm. They can only help.
Поговорим о космосе. Космос сейчас является, по сути, местом претворения в жизнь самых, что ни на есть, смелых планов. Космос сейчас находится, на мой взгляд, в начальной стадии освоения. Если сравнить с развитием человечества в средние века, когда океаны еще не осваивались, а было каботажное плавание, то есть мчались, корабли ходили вдоль берега. Вот сейчас мы только начинаем с эпохи великих космических открытий. И космос будет осваиваться по тем же принципам, по которым осваивался океан. Вообще никакие все эти высокие материи при освоении новых, тем более территорий, абсолютно никогда не имели никакого значения. Он будет осваиваться теми, у кого есть деньги и возможности. И не случайно товарищ Трамп объявил Луну своей собственностью. Там прямо точно так и написано. Я читал этот закон, который он подписал, что Луна является собственностью Соединенных Штатов, и все, что там найдено и будет найдено, это их собственность. Освоение космоса – это Марс в первую очередь. Здесь у меня никаких сомнений нет в том, что Маск сумеет освоить его. В 22-м, начале 23-го в это самое окно возможности, оно раз в 4 года примерно, он должен послать туда свой Starship, звездный корабль, и доставить 200 тонн груза с невозвращением назад. Чтобы, когда пойдет в 26-м году корабль уже с космонавтами, там можно было приготовить жилье, завод построить, приготовить горючее и возвратить при необходимости этих самых космонавтов назад. Вообще, Маск в этом плане человек абсолютно уникальный. Он планирует 100 кораблей Starship делать в год, и по 100 кораблей практически в течение месяца отправлять на Марс. Маск заявил, что никакого земного законодательства там не будет, что у него будет собственное законодательство, то есть то абсолютно правильно. Он за свои деньги осваивает Марс, поэтому у него будет собственное законодательство, я думаю, собственные вооруженные силы он создаст. Маск, я думаю, создаст там собственную и полицию, и научные кадры, и так далее, и так далее. Маск, как обычно, занялся более серьезным делом. Он занялся терраформированием. То есть он мыслит создать на Марсе климат в течение 100 лет, который будет примерно похож на земной. Маск собирается сделать Марс отправной точкой для освоения Сатурна, пояса астероидов и всего прочего. Космос – это сфера приложения всех сил человечества, но в данном случае человечество разделится на 3 неравные группы. Собственно, субъекты космоса США и Китай, близкие к субъектам страны типа Индии и Японии, которые через 5-10 лет субъектами станут. Страны, которые, можно сказать, сочувствующие и принимающие участие: Англия, Франция, Германия. Битва Китая со Штатами – это ближайшая такая крупномасштабная, абсолютная битва, которая сейчас развернется за космос в мире. Так что космос – это наше все. Это, по сути, двигатель прогресса. Двигатель очень тяжелый, очень дорогой, но исключительно интересный, поскольку освоение Солнечной системы – это повестка Дня человечества. То есть освоение космоса и поиски жизни в космосе. Для начала в Солнечной системе, а потом везде. Человечество должно жить мечтой. Вот это вот общество потребления, оно от него уже тошнит всем, даже потребляющим. Это деградация. Я надеюсь, что Россия со временем вернется, отойдет от этого своего летаргического сна, не будет фильмы снимать о космосе и в космосе, а будет заниматься изучением космоса.
I'm constantly reminded of science fiction. Because science fiction, in many ways, it's imaginary, it's creative, right? It's projection to the future. But some actually project very interesting ideas. And I'm a big fan of Gene Roddenberry's work, in particular Star Trek, because everybody's at least familiar, everywhere in the world is familiar with Star Trek, I presume. And in the second series, not the original one, but the second series, what we call the Next Generation, there is a constant reminder of what the Federation calls the Prime Directive, when coming into contact with more primitive civilizations, right? And it's very well written, because they kind of project backwards what our own history of how abusive we were with ourselves when we discovered a new idea, when we were in contact with maybe a higher technology, we used it to destroy, usually. Like, that's our own history, right? And so, but from Star Trek, you see it from the outsider perspective, where you are the wiser civilization that's more advanced, that has gone through the survival of, the atomic bomb and everything else. And now they're encountering civilizations in the industrial age or information age. And in the stories, they write about what's going on there. And there's always nuances, but it's obviously a mirror of human civilization today in most cases, with some nuances and prosthetics, because it's different race, different aliens. But they examine through that science fiction show what happens, and whether or not, if you are an outsider that's more advanced, you should intervene. What happens if you do, and if you don't? In reality, in real life, with UFOs in the skies, and what we were talking about with possible civilizations that are thousands, millions of years more advanced than us, we are the primitives. We're the Star Trek primitives, right? We're the ones that are where, if there is contact today, like official, very obvious contact, of course, like over, like you said, landing on the White House lawn, or in front of the Kremlin, or wherever, right? If something like that happened, how many of us would lose our minds and self-destroy? How many militaries would shoot missiles at it? I don't really have an answer to that. But it is a
Exactly.
question of like, how are we ready for such an event, a realization in our ego mind, a consumerism mind, but also in our still warlike mentality too. Like we must defend, and being afraid of everything means you shoot what moves, right? A little bit like Western cowboy style, you know, shoot first, ask questions later, so to speak, if you follow Hollywood movies. Is that our knee-jerk reaction towards this eventuality? I'm not asking the question, it's kind of rhetorical. But it is an interesting thought exercise to look at science fiction like that and see who do we represent in that show, and how can we be the wiser people, right? And develop that wisdom and those ethics of our own, and learning how to, you use the word evolve, right, earlier. How can we evolve into a benevolent civilization that is essentially worthy of contact with a civilization that doesn't need us or anything on planet Earth at all? There's absolutely no reason for that to come here to take anything from us. They got so much tech, access to the whole universe. Our little planet is insignificant, resource-wise or any other ways. They are here for something else, which is not about the resources or our energy or our water or making us slaves or anything, any kind of other stories that do come from science fiction as well. There's plenty of science fiction ideas out there. They're here for something else. And big curiosity is why. And we can only, emit hypotheses on this, I think, although they are stories. But to finish, like, why do you think they are here? Like, based on all the discussions you've had in your organization, what is a predominant reason that comes out most?
Why they are here?
Yeah.
I guess that's a natural way, a natural stage of their evolution as they evolved to a level when they became one single organism on their planet, and they discovered ways to travel through the universe, and they met other people and they made friends with them. And that's just a natural desire of the human to explore something new, to contribute to the evolution of the universe. Because as we go further, we can see that the whole universe is alive. It's like a living thing, and each civilization has its own place, has its own purpose. And in this respect, the Earth and humanity also has its own purpose. And you cannot ignore this fact. You have to realize it, to think about it. Maybe if you forgot to remember it, to recall it, because this higher purpose is what you have to accomplish in this big body of the universe, and nobody will do it except for you. And this idea, I think, this is something unique, that we are unique, we are needed. We cannot let ourselves extinct. We cannot let ourselves kill each other, because universe needs us, and they are here to tell us that we are needed, that you can evolve, you can transcend your ego, you can change, and that is not the hardest thing in the world to do. This is just a natural way of your evolution. But right now we are diseased with this ego, but it's a good thing that we are now talking about it, because that's the sign of our healing from it. When you know what you're diseased with, you can find a cure. And our body works the same. When you have this intention that somebody needs you, somebody waits for you, then the person heals, almost recovers, of course, with the help. Maybe when it's a tough disease, maybe you need a surgery, but that's again, that's not the something that you cannot overcome. It's just steps on your way to accomplishing your cosmic purpose. And I think we have this cosmic purpose, and they are here to tell us, to encourage us, and to help us, and to just maybe make friends with us. And I guess that's the case.
So the way you're talking about it, it reminds me again. You talk about whole body or single organism, right? Humanity being a single organism. I don't want people listening to this thinking that we're all going to become a big blob of it's not like that. It's like individuals, but like working together as like a single organism. I think you mean. I think what you're talking about is that let's examine at a bigger scale, like the galactic scale. Let's start there, and it could be also applied to universal scale, like much bigger. There are multiple civilizations. They're all unique, right? Sure. And they are all important because of that unique code or footprint they may have. So they desire us to survive, to be able to contribute our uniqueness to the galactic civilizations, the collective, in a responsible way. Of course, I presume just like another living organism, if you lose a cell or you lose one thing unique, the whole body doesn't die. It's not like they need us for survival, but they need us to be part of the collective, of the growth, evolution at a grander scale. And they may have that understanding, especially being able to travel and zip across very quickly between different parts of the galaxy. To them, like, each civilization is very close. Just like in the old days, traveling to another nation, that was unthinkable. Traveling across the Atlantic was unthinkable. But now, like, we're like, you're in Moscow, I'm in Ottawa, and we're like brothers, like neighbors, right? It's very close. So for them, the whole galaxy is just a bunch of neighbors, and just like going for a cup of tea, and it's as easy. So I'm hearing that, and maybe for them, the whole galaxy is a whole organism with all these civilizations interconnected, and then it can go grander and grander into this. And our civilization is trying to be born into this in our own, evolution in process, and they're just letting us figuring it out on our own, and in hope that we'll make it through. Right, and then join, like being able to join that whole thing, which of course is why the Alliance is working on the ET Embassy and the whole awareness effort around that in humanity towards collaboration and removal of ego and so on. Did I encapsulate the idea that you were talking about with this?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. They want us to join them, but how to join them if we're not, as we said many times before, one organism?
Yeah.
Some people may join, some not. Who will be the first? Is there another race? Arms race? So that's why, that's the thing that holds us back. So I guess before doing this, we have to resolve this ego issue. It's doable. It's doable.
It's absolutely doable. And we together, and those other individuals and organizations that want to to help us with the alliance and help the ethics of the unknown and other organizations. We can do it together without ego, without asking anything in return, which is the best way. Just like we can improve and evolve as individuals, which, like the butterfly effect, it kind of spreads, and other people can learn to remove their own ego and consumerism mentality, and we can transform the systems and the culture on the planet towards something that is in fact beneficial and appealing to our brothers and sisters and fathers and mothers of outer space somewhere watching us. And I like the idea of them a little, again, the Star Trek kind of analogy. They're on the spaceship and they're watching drama, right? Basically waiting until we're ready and kind of being very patient, right? And when we are ready, then it's like, okay, they're ready, let's make first contact, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And they'll be the judge. They have the experience and the history to know when we're going to be ready. We're just trying to figure it out. And when we are, then we'll know it right away. I'm sure there's going to be momentous events on the planet when we are ready.
Можно отметить два подхода к вопросу взаимоотношений человечества с космосом. Первый базируется, как мы часто можем это подтверждать про себя, базируется на многочисленных социально-политических, военных аспектах и событиях, которые происходили на протяжении тысячелетий с человечеством, и которая выработала совершенно однозначные правила захвата чего-то другого. Среды обитания, территории, акватории морей, океанов, рек, воздуха. Захват. То есть силовым даже путем, или военно-политическим путем, или чисто политическим путем расширение, так сказать, своих возможностей за счет приобретения новых территорий, новых пространств. И вот дело дошло до космоса. Перспективный ли этот путь? Но события показывают, что еще чуть-чуть, и мы в космос перестанем вообще выходить из-за космического мусора, который скапливается там и от разведывательных спутников, и от спутников связи, и от спутников, которые осуществляют различный мониторинг, навигацию и так далее, и так далее. А если еще прибавить те осколки, которые получаются при столкновении этих спутников, или тренировочных уничтожениях спутников, то получается, что в скором времени, возможно, мы вообще в космос не сможем выходить. Есть другой путь. Путь русского космизма, который оперирует понятиями главного предназначения человека и человечества на этой планете для того, чтобы он стал равноправным сначала освоителем космического пространства, а потом его созидателем, создателем миров, гармонизации, так сказать, отношений в космосе и так далее. Он говорит о том, что нынешний, так сказать, паморок такой связан с тем, что наша цивилизация просто не достигла определенного внутриутробного уровня и еще в космос-то даже и не выходила. Итак, два момента. Один практический, который нам не оставляет ничего, кроме опасности возникновения нового вида войн, а именно войн в космосе. И, в общем-то говоря, близок очень к возможности, вероятности самоуничтожения всего человечества. И есть другой путь, который подсказывается русским космизмом. И не только им. На протяжении 50 лет, даже больше, чем 50 лет, и в Советском Союзе, и в России затем, да и сейчас продолжается, энное количество, скажем так, исследовательских групп занимались вопросом выяснения, в том числе через прямые контакты с, скажем так, внеземным разумом, основных законов Вселенной. И поскольку она вся живая, то должна руководствоваться какими-то законами. Да, эти законы определены, закон развития и совершенствования, что является предназначением человечества, закон перемен, закон красоты и гармонии, закон воздаяния и закон иерархии. Вот здесь я должен заметить в целях, так сказать, нашей передачи, что закон иерархии предопределяет главенство, ну, правильно, такое мягкое главенство одной цивилизации там, или там, одного вида разумных сил космоса над другим через правильное отношение к более нижестоящим цивилизациям, а именно совершенно не вмешательство во внутренние дела, только иногда подсказки, учет того, что действие этих, так сказать, недоразвитых цивилизаций может привести к вредоносным последствиям для других каких-то звездных систем, и целый ряд других положений, которые определяют порядок вот такого контроля и сохранения, так сказать, гармонии Вселенной, которые существуют. Кто прав? И в каком положении находится наше, если так можно выразиться, земное законодательство, которое регламентирует космическую деятельность? Надо сказать, что основной договор был подписан в 1967 году, и все дополнения к нему, включая, значит, запрет на владение там, любыми небесными телами как государств, так отдельных организаций, так и частных лиц. Это все вроде бы как на бумаге написано, а действует ли это сейчас или нет? Если даже это подвергается сомнениям, то мы очень близки к тому, что земная ноосфера очень скоро может схлопнуться до состояния некросферы, где жизнь просто невозможна никакая. А если мы будем следовать идеям космической этики, космического предназначения человека, наверное, у нас в человечестве есть будущее, и мало того, мы сможем со временем стать полноценными членами космического сообщества, и вот только тогда мы сможем на равных, или хотя бы даже не на равных, а просто замечаемых, обсуждать с другими разумными силами некие договорные обстоятельства, или, вернее сказать, пожелания. А думать о том, что уже сейчас явленные, неявленные, проявленные силы, разумные силы космоса, которые действуют в основном там, через контактеров, к примеру, могут устанавливать с нами какие-то правовые соглашения, это наивно. Мы для них практически не существуем. Мы еще не выглянулись из этого яйца, это, самосовершенствование, чтобы начать фактическое освоение космического пространства, и тем более быть там на равных со старыми цивилизациями. Давайте же останемся на мирной Земле. Давайте не будем превращать нашу ноосферу, психосферу или атмосферу, тем более космическое пространство, ближайшее в поле битвы. Давайте стараться заниматься тем, что называется сотрудничество, то есть трудиться сообща на благо цивилизации, Земли и всего космоса.
Well, thank you so much, Timofey, for participating in this, and as well as your colleagues in the video. That's amazing thought. We have to work together, everybody on the planet, towards this, all sorts of directions. This has been Timofey Egorov speaking to you. And if you have one last word to add, Timofey, before we close, you're welcome to express yourself.
Thank you. I wanted to add just a little thing on top. When talking about changing ourselves and transcending this situation, resolving it, what we have now on the planet, many people can think I'm so small. What can I do? Maybe I should wait for someone to invite me or to do together with. These efforts may seem so little, so small, but I must assure you that our world works in resonances. So one little frequency, and we can let's put it this way: we are like little waves, and as we produce this frequency of change, of making this decision, and we focus ourselves on something positive which is happening. Focus on positive, and it will grow, and this resonance will become greater, and all who surround you will tune in this resonance, because the higher this frequency, and our positive qualities are of higher frequencies. The higher the frequency, the more powerful it is.
You mean amplitude, I think, right?
Huh?
You mean amplitude?
I mean the frequency.
The frequency.
The frequency. Okay. Yeah, and amplitude as well. So when you tune in, when other frequencies tune in resonance, they will make it the effect exponential. So it will be not linear. You just have to start, and when we start, when we reach a critical mass, it may be 1% of the population of the Earth or less. The humanity, as it is, really, it's one organism. Only in our mindset there is separation.
Yeah,
it will tune in because it's living. It wants to live. It wants to go on. It doesn't want to die. It wants to evolve. It will take this resonance and will tune in, and the whole situation will change very fast. So that's the one little thing I wanted to add, to encourage people that we will manage to do it.
Yeah, we'll do it. It doesn't. I think there's a book that's called The Tipping Point. It's not specifically about this type of idea, but it applies. You know, a small percentage of our population, if they emit the same, let's say, emotions, ideas, movement, right, in concert, right, at the same time, like you said, like same frequency, for example, it influences the masses to a point where you go from 10% adoption of some idea or whatever to 80% very, very quickly, because it crosses very quickly this threshold. You don't need 50%. You need, like, I think it's 10 or 20 or 25% like at maximum, and then it basically, the whole thing shifts.
Exactly.
It gets adopted like throughout the organism, and that's a phenomenon that's studied. It's not a mystical thing. It's just usually it's discussed in the terms of marketing ideas or political ideas, but it applies to any kind of idea, right?
Yeah, and really the whole universe works like this.
Yeah,
even the elementary particles in this world, in the world of energy, so it works like this. When there's
chemical reactions are like that.
Yes, critical mass, and boom, it changes it very fast. It just flips like this. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'm a chemist, so like I see it as an activation energy, right? If you're familiar with the chemical reactions, you're gonna put compounds together in a jar, nothing happens. Then you put in energy, nothing happens. Put in more energy, nothing happens. And then it starts a little bit, but not much. Put a little bit more energy, and all of a sudden the whole thing reacts simultaneously because of that jump and that effect. So it's kind of part of the natural physical world that this phenomenon actually occurs this way.
Yes.
So we shouldn't be surprised about it, because we observe it all around us. But nonetheless, we get surprised all the time. Thank you so much, Timofey, for the last bit of wisdom. And I wish us all well in this journey.
Thank you. And good luck, Sylvan. Thank you for having me.